Well, there you are, Ghoulies, and here we are once again. I'm joined with Lilith Lovecraft, and we have Kevin Mathewson and Kyle Flood, both seeking aldermanic seats, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, Kevin, we'll start with you. What prompted you to reemerge on the scene?
Well, it was frustrating, as you can imagine. I lost by about 12 votes back in 2014, and I'm eager to get back in there. I think our district is going unrepresented, and it's frustrating to a lot of us, me and my neighbors, so I'm going to give it another shot, and I feel confident this time, for sure.
Yeah, well, it's got to be interesting to get out there and get involved, and that's what too many people don't spend the time getting involved or attending council meetings, and then they freak out in the 0 hour when something's about to get passed or whatnot.
Absolutely.
But, there's definitely some rough roads though in the old neighborhood.
Absolutely. The roads are in terrible shape. The rest of the infrastructure is in terrible shape. Thank God we're not getting the $15 million trolley, that's for sure.
Well, that's sort of that went down like a Led Zeppelin real quick. Everybody was on board, and then it did. It became sort of the scapegoat though for the angry Kenoshan. Like it was almost in a very Trump kind of way. I mean, you had to get a lifeboat and jump off that ship because it was just, and then maybe that's not necessarily any one's to blame or whatnot, but I just thought now from a perspective of luring in the people from the colleges that wouldn't have maybe setting up a bus route and seeing if there's interest in the first place for them to come downtown, which is a majority of the entertainment places are over 21, and most college students would be only able to go in their by the time they're in their fourth year of college, maybe they'd be that age. So would that really work out,
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at the trolley support is there's three groups of people. People that hated the trolley, no matter where it went, what it did, they hated it, no, vote no. Then you had the group in between that said, well, maybe if it went somewhere good, Carthage College, Uptown, God willing, the casino, somewhere useful where it was a people transporter that would get used. And the third group of people that says, I love the trolley, I don't care where it goes, vote yes, yes, yes. Well, that sinking ship you talked about went down pretty quickly, but there wasn't enough life preservers for all the aldermen. And a couple of aldermen, including mine, still held on to hope, even though the We Energies quote came high, and that was $15.5 million. My alderman, Kurt Wicklund, and another alderman or two still tried to hang on to that iceberg, and they went down with the ship, and it's unfortunate. So those two districts got unheard.
Well, yeah, it was interesting to watch that all go down, and I guess it's a shame in a way. I mean, I suppose that you could blame the crash of 2007, 2008, and if that had any effect on what might have moved forward for Kenosha. Mm-hmm. However you feel on the casino deal, if you were for or against that. Were you for or against that?
I was for the casino.
You were for the casino.
It would have brought a lot of new jobs. That water park hotel looked kind of cool because I know we could drag the kids over there for a weekend.
I just thought the thing that when it got down to the 0 hour and it came to the point where they were willing to give $250 million to Milwaukee for the stadium, and it still got turned down. And now the public, of course, we're on the hook now for that stadium.
Right.
But I was like, couldn't we got that $250 million could have done for downtown Kenosha?
Yes.
I mean, an investment in the Kenosha Theater, perhaps, or an entertainment venue. I'm a big proponent of the Kenosha Theater.
As am I. Yep.
I want to see that happen. Now, I understand the Genesee, though, is surviving mainly because of Uline or that supports them, So they got a pretty good business model for the Kenosha, but that seems to me like more, if we can make downtown Kenosha more like the Wisconsin Dells and touristy a little bit.
Sure.
Because I don't know if we're going to lure some of the same, JCPenney's isn't going to come back, but that's another district completely, and that seems to have been a disaster with aldermen for the past 4 years downtown.
Yep.
They get in, and then they end up not wanting the job, I think. They get into it, and they don't want the job, and then, of course, the downtown turns on them, too. So.
Sure, and that's a very active district, including the downtown, and I think it's a very involving district to be the alderman. So I think
but I mean, an alderman's job is interesting anyway because first off, you get elected by the people that are in your district, yet you go on to make decisions that are involve the whole city.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize is our biggest focus is on our district itself, but all 17 of us are making decisions for the entire city. So just because you might not live in a district, getting involved is important citywide.
Well, it's just in politics in general. I
Sure.
think people should pay more attention to what's going on, and so you're running again. That's the 8th, of course.
Yep, 8th district.
I should know. The Castle's in the 8th.
Yes, I was your alderman for a couple years, and I think I did a good job every time you had a complaint about a pothole or something. We didn't get the official Dr. D mascot for the city, but that's on order. So
Is that on order? Okay, well, we'll see how that goes. You didn't have any trouble with the moat on the way in.
no, I'm a good swimmer.
All right, now Kyle, you're running for which?
Third district.
Third district. Yep.
Alderman. Yep.
Okay, and what prompted you to? Well, you were a school board. You were elected school board. How old were you when you were elected?
I
school
was
board?
18 years old. I had just graduated high school.
That's pretty amazing to be able to get elected into office. I mean, that's pretty incredible. So now, what made you figure? Well, now you want to go after alderman? What?
Well, I never really planned on running for re-election of the school board. I ran to be that young, fresh voice that had just graduated high school. And so as my term was coming to an end, I sort of looked towards the city and I saw a lot of change coming. New police chief, new mayor, maybe potentially new council. And I think that I've accomplished a lot. I accomplished most of what I said I would on the school board, and I hope to bring that same success to the city council.
Just fresh ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
And well, this is an interesting dynamic. Now, Kevin, you never were on? No, you were not on council in the time of John Anaramian's.
I was not. But with all the folks that I've spoken to, I hear he's a good leader. He'll help with this perceived divide in the council, and I'm optimistic. I think we're at a pivotal point in the city, and with a fresh new mayor and some new aldermen, I think we have a lot of potential. The city itself has a lot of potential, and once we get good leaders to kind of harness that potential, I think we're going to be in a good position in the future.
A lot of our visitors from from like one of the guys that moved here for the Days of the Dead convention had mentioned how they see so much potential in Kenosha.
Sure.
And that the Kenosans kind of don't see. So, but there's been a lot. I mean, there's just been too many years of too many promises for so long that
Sure.
the public is, the public is again like angered, like the way was feeding like something like the Trump campaign right now. You
Sure.
know. And it doesn't mean they're informed. It just means they're angry. So if they get, the spokesman for that anger, I suppose that's where somebody can, move it along.
And that's clearly visible with the whole. I hate to go back to the trolley, but the referendum. 7,000 people signed a petition demanding that the city council either A, stop the streetcar expansion, forget it, or B, put it on the ballot for a non-binding referendum. And we all know what that means is it doesn't matter how the people vote, the city council can still make their own determination.
So what's the point then?
So-
Why not have a binding referendum?
Well, I understand that thought. However, all it is the opinion of the voters. So the voters would have been sending a very clear opinion, whether they're for or against, and I think most of us would have guessed 80-90% against. And whenever you have a politician that says, I don't care what you think, I know what's best for the neighborhood more than you do, I think that's when you say it's time to throw them out. If they drop the buck with such a small issue, what are they doing with the bigger issue?
Well, the trolley issue with it being downtown, many of the businesses down there did not want that there.
Right.
They were vehemently opposed.
Library Park, that beautiful area, a lot of the people that have a strong heritage in Pasadena and Kenosha, they didn't want all those wires and noise.
I don't know if it, back in the day when they did have the trolleys on the wires, if it ever did run through Library Park or not.
Right, it did not.
I mean, but they were all over town.
Sure.
I guess the story is that the thing would come unhitched in snowstorms, and
Sure.
kids wouldn't get a proper excuse notice
And
for being late.
those events down there that we're missing out, like Food Folks and Spokes, it's just a shame. And if I would have been a resident of Library Park at the time, I would have been a little bit more upset than I was.
There's a couple, one of the items of downtown is this open intoxicant idea where you can go bar to bar with drinks. Go ahead.
I don't want to.
I dare you. Now, I don't know if I'm getting that, because I'm hearing a lot of people that actually are residents downtown are putting up with enough noise in the bar districts that you know, they should be responsible. Okay, it's 2:30. Get in your car and go home. Don't be screaming out on the street until 4 a.m.
Sure.
4 a.m. And that's one of the things that's happening. But this idea of, all right, I can bring this drink to this place and whatnot, you're just going to, these people are going to put 6-packs in their cars and they're going to refill on the way and they're going to walk into the bars without spending as much money. That's
Yeah, and that could be one of the
That's how
unintended
drinkers
consequences.
think,
you know,
know?
these things have kind of these consequences that are unintended, like the no smoking that the state passed. For example, I personally like it because I'm a non-smoker and I like being in a place where you don't have to smell the smoke. However, what that did, that brought those smokers out to the front of the bar in front or out back, so then they're being loud and the neighbors complain.
Yeah.
So there's certainly unintended consequences in anything you do, but I thought that sounded like something that we could give it a chance. And just like with everything, you have people that will take advantage of a change like that and do it responsibly, and unfortunately you got the people that, well, you know, like you said, will go crazy and, you know, pound them back in their cars or whatever.
Well, they seem to think they're in New Orleans down on
Sure,
50th
sure.
and 7th Avenue there, but no, I'm not knocking it. I mean, I like to have a good time.
Yeah,
too,
I don't-
but I mean, some of the
Sure.
stuff that I'm seeing now is like, even in my wildest days, you know, I have more respect, and I think generally we're seeing a population that has less respect for each other, and I think that's definitely evident in driving habits right now.
Sure.
You know, and it's well, what are you going to do? I guess it just changes one thing for another. I mean, we toughened drinking driving laws, okay, and so maybe we gained a little bit and we saved a percentage of people, and then Mother Nature just comes along with the cell phone and creates
Sure.
sober people that are inattentive. So it's just
There's
things like
studies
that.
out there that say you're worse off driving
Texting and driving.
while you're texting than if you
I-
were
yeah.
hammered.
Right.
You know, so yeah, it's definitely a challenge. And you
Yeah.
know, now at the state level, it's illegal, but I think it's kind of hard for the police to enforce because people have been good at, you know, holding their phones down while they're texting and not being really in view.
They'll figure out some way to
Sure.
make that happen. Without,
Me, I
you
do
know,
where I
don't
talk to my watch. You know, text Nikki, I'm going to be late for dinner, and then
Well, it's even that. It's just even eating a burrito in the car, you know.
Sure.
I mean,
or
people- they're in-
makeup. Do
Yeah.
you do your makeup in the car, or do you wait till you get here?
Only when the car's parked. What do you mean makeup? Now, Tasha, I'd like to give you a voice, being that you're a younger Kenoshan. Do you have any particular things like that you would really like to see happen here?
Well, going back to what you were talking about with the alcohol, I've been paying a lot of attention actually to that issue because being young, I'm a college student, I'm not of drinking age. I go downtown a lot on Friday evenings, Saturday evenings, and I walk around downtown. So I have an issue with the open carry for the fact that I'm already having people from bars harassing me. I have drunk people coming up to me. I see drunk people coming up to girls that are 13, 14 years old and bothering them. So giving them the opportunity to go from bar to bar with open beverage just doesn't seem safe to me. It makes me worry about going downtown as a young female. And I think that's something that needs to be considered, is that the downtown isn't just an adult area. There are all the bars, there's all the adult entertainment, but a lot of the teens also go downtown for entertainment and for events and
There
for
needs to be more
concerts.
stuff, I think, for the teens down there.
Oh,
too,
definitely.
As well. You know, I mean, or just more of a family kind of, you know, touristy thing. I always loved the old strip of the Wisconsin Dells.
Mm-hmm.
You had your haunted houses. I would love to have a haunted, you know, attraction 24/7 downtown, like a wax museum kind of a thing. Now, I would love to do that. That would really be something I'd like to do, you know. And I just think things like that would be a good way to fill some of these spaces where, what are you going to fill them with? I mean, the Orpheum was a theater. The Leader Store was a theater. That building by Dale's Jewelers, that was a theater too. I mean, that was back. So they're old movie houses, and you know, what's going to fill something like, you know, you got the J.C. Penney building, which could be, you know, why can't Harbor Market get that
right.
for their indoor facility? You know,
And these are a lot of good discussions. I look forward to having in the next couple years with you know, we're gonna have a new mayor. Okay, we're gonna have some new council people. Like Kyle was saying, a new police chief. You know,
Right.
possibly a new fire chief one of these years. And just a big change in leadership. We need to start having these discussions on how we can harness the potential. You know, what can go where. You know, Natasha was commenting on some of the shenanigans downtown. there's a couple bars downtown and other places in the city that are getting in hot water because they're serving minors. They're letting people loiter
I'm
after
very
hours.
aware that they're serving
So I
minors.
think what Natasha's trying to say is if we want to even have the discussion,
Confession.
Not a confession, but I've been to a few that are.
Well, you're just
very willing to serve
chomping
minors.
at the bit on that.
I'm very
on the
perplexed.
serum there.
I'm perplexed by the vial.
And if I could jump on that too, because when I first heard about the entertainment ordinance, I really liked the idea because my whole thing has always been, Kenosha should be a college town. We have all these colleges, doesn't feel like a college town, but you're absolutely right. There's still a lot of people who are under 21, a lot of young girls who are walking around, and what are we going to do to make sure it's still safe out there for them? I know UW Parkside has those little buttons that set off alarms. Maybe if we're gonna start looking at an entertainment ordinance, we have to consider that too.
Well, you're
we
going
do
to have to
think
have
about
the police.
everything.
You're going to have to have some police or security or something. Now, I know of another woman that's been completely harassed downtown. This has been going on for, she has to live there, and she basically lived there long before some of those places were even drinking establishments, even before the port was a bar,
Sure.
So,